So about a year ago, I made a video about the Big Agnes Fly Creek 2 for bikepacking, and in it I said this.
Seems pretty good. I am not disappointed. Big Agnes, good job. I'm really excited to sleep in this tent. I'm going on an overnighter this weekend, so gonna test it out for the first time. Super excited about that.
I've had this tent about a year now, and I have to say that I am almost as enthusiastic about it now as I was a year ago. After spending a lot of nights in it, I've taken it on numerous bikepacking trips and I've taken it on a lot of car camping trips as well. I have to say that I still actually really like this tent. So this video is a long-term review of the Big Agnes Fly Creek 2 for bikepacking. Quick specs out of the way, this is a 2-person double-walled tent. It weighs 2 pounds 10 ounces or 1.19 kilograms. I don't want to go into a deep dive of the technical specs of this tent because I think there's a lot of content out there about this, and I think that other people can speak more clearly and articulately about that. And I'm going to put the materials of what it's made out of up here on the screen because I know that I'm going to butcher it if I actually have to list it all out myself. So here it is directly from the manufacturer. Feel free to pause the video if you need to. Price-wise, this tent comes in at $379.95 as of May 2022. There is also a footprint made specifically for this tent and it sells for $75. I have a long list of things that I really like about this tent. First and foremost, this tent is really compact. One of the things that makes a tent really difficult to pack on a bike are long tent poles. And Big Agnes has tackled this in a really productive way by creating this short stick technology, and the tent poles are actually about 1 foot long. So for me, that means I can put it into my front handlebar bag or can strap it onto a rack on the back of the bike without having to store the tent pole separately elsewhere. The stuff sack can also function as a front handlebar bag, so you can actually strap the entire kind of stuff sack and tent pole system onto just about any handlebar. As for weight, it isn't the lightest tent in the world. It's also not the heaviest, but for the amount of compactness that comes in this little package for what you get, it's the weight is pretty nice. I can't complain too much about the weight. If you wanted to go any lighter, you're probably gonna have to go to Dyneema, which is going to put the price point up, you know, in hundreds of dollars more. So I think for the weight to price ratio, I think this is a fairly good deal. I feel really comfortable in this tent. I am a sprawling sleeper. I flop around all night. I have plenty of room to stretch out if I need to, and I also have plenty of room to store my clothes and toiletries and anything else that I might want to bring into the tent with me. This is ostensibly a 2-person tent. However, I find it a palace for one. I don't think that I could comfortably sleep with another person in this tent. I'm also a giant. I am 5'11" or 181 centimeters, and I think it would be extremely uncomfortable to share this tent with anyone else. But as a 1-person tent, I think this is really, really, really nice. Another thing I really like about this tent is that the guy lines are reflective. So if you're walking around your tent at night, you can easily see the guy lines in the dark. The Fly Creek 2 for bikepacking also has some unique features specifically for bikepacking. I initially thought these were kind of gimmicky, but they're actually really well thought out. So one of the things being the short stick poles, which makes the tent much more compact. And the other thing is that there is a helmet storage in the Fly. So you can put your helmet underneath the rain fly if you need to. I actually really like this feature because sometimes you wake up in the morning and your helmet is dewy, or spiders or critters get into it. It's just a nice little feature. You can just store your helmet in there and you know where it is, and it's not gonna get any bugs or anything in there. I also really like the pocket above the sleeping area. I tend to put all my stuff sacks, like my sleeping pad stuff sack and my pillow stuff sacks in there, just to kind of keep everything organized and get it out of the way. I have tried to put clothes and heavier items in there, but it makes the tent sag a lot. So if you do put anything in there, I would suggest that you put something light so that it doesn't sag. There is also a fast fly option where you can set up the entire tent as kind of a tarp or just set up the rain fly, but I haven't tried out this feature, so I can't really speak to it. I also really like the vestibule. It's very large, and if you get the footprint with it, it extends out so that you have a place to put your shoes. You don't really need that in the vestibule, but it's nice. It's nice to be able to like kind of put your shoes on the little doorstep. That does, however, bring me to the first thing that I really dislike about this tent, and that is the footprint. So honestly, the footprint sold separately is the one thing that actually really irks me about this tent. Everything else I can kind of live with. After this, I will tell you about some nitpicky things that I like wish were a little bit better about the tent. However, like the footprint being sold separately at $75 is just, it's annoying because this is already a really expensive hobby to get into, and it feels like you're just getting nickel and dimed. And if you use your gear a lot, if you are really hard on your gear, you need a footprint. And of course you can use a cheap plastic sheet. You can use a footprint that is made for a different tent. There are also universal footprints that are much cheaper. I wish at the very least you could fit the footprint in the stuff sack. I've had other videos where people have mentioned that they've been able to do this. I just haven't. I don't know if I'm just like stuffing it wrong or if I just need to like put more pressure into the stuff sack. I'm not sure. Because of that, you have to store it separately on your bike. And so naturally I have lost mine. So that's $75 down the drain, and I feel a little upset about that. Yeah, Big Agnes, like, come on. However, everything else I can live with. So let me tell you the kind of the nitpicky things that I wish were a little bit different about this tent. While this tent is very spacious, I have enough room to roll around on, enough room to kind of put all the stuff that I want to in my tent. In order to kind of take advantage of all of this space in the tent, you have to clip the inner to the rain fly so that it like pulls out all of the tent space. It's just a little bit fiddly. That's all I'll say. It's just like a little, like, it's another extra step at the end of a really long day when you've been riding all day. The other thing about that is that if you don't clip the inner to the rain fly, and it is raining or you're camping in a really humid area, because of the material that the rain fly is made of, it will sag. It'll start to touch the mesh of the tent so that some of the condensation can start running into the tent. So essentially it becomes a single walled tent if you do not adequately separate the two layers of it. If you live in a really dry climate, you probably don't have to worry about this, but because I live in a very wet and humid place, condensation is something that I'm always thinking about. These stakes for the inner tent and the rain fly and ground sheet don't all line up perfectly, so you end up having to use like 10 stakes to properly stake it out. The last kind of nitpicky thing that I'll say is that if it is raining or if it is really, really windy, the material for the rain fly does sag and stretch a little bit, so you just have to retension the tent if it becomes wet or full of water. All right, all of that nitpickiness aside, all of my like rage about the footprints aside, I actually really like this tent. I have put a lot, I put my stuff through hell. I don't treat things delicately. I throw them around. I put holes in shit all the time, and I have put a lot of wear on this tent, and it has hardly showed any signs of wear. I haven't had any holes, any rips, anything like that, and it's held up really well over the past year, and I imagine that it'll continue to hold up well as I continue to use it. And for a piece of gear that I spent, including the footprint that I lost, over $400 on, that is what I hope for, is something that I really enjoy using and something that's really quality and going to hold up over time. So those are my overall thoughts of this tent and my long-term review. It will continue to be used in future videos. I might try out other tents, I don't know, but I will probably keep coming back to this one because I feel really attached to it. I hope you guys have found this review useful. If there is gear that you would like to see reviewed on this channel, please let me know in the comments below. Let me know what you thought of this review. I love hearing from you guys. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you next week.